Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Gabriele Cordes. I'm from Germany and I'm a natural therapist. And I'm very happy to present to you now the pink presentation. It's about the Power Immune nutritional concept. And this concept is so special because in this concept, we are using something what Mother Nature is using for millions of years to bring immunity to our babies. A very important scientist called Dr. Sherwood Lawrence discovered these transfer factors. These transfer factors are a sequence of amino acids. It was one of the most important discoveries besides penicillin in the last century. And a lot of scientific work took place. And we are so happy that in the 80s, beginning the 90s, this couple, David and Bianca Lisenby, they saw that everybody needs this special unique chain of amino acids, and they founded the company 4Life Research in 1998. We see them here in the picture, and on the right hand we see the CEO Danny Lee. And what did they do? They first bought the patent from Dr. Sherwood Lawrence, and then they invented a really great biotechnology to extract these transfer factor from the natural sources called colostrum and egg yolk. And therefore, we are nowadays able to take only this pure amino acid, the same that Dr. Sherwood Lawrence found in 1949. We can use them for us. And this is the beauty of the immune system company. And they made a patent out of this extractions, and this is called the trifactor formula. The trifactor formula is so special because no plant, no vitamin, no mineral is able to do these three things: strengthen, relax, and educate your immune system. For instance, if we have a really weak immune system, this special chain of amino acid called trifactor formula, when it's coming into this body, the cells recognize, and then they will themselves build up until the balance is reached again. Maybe we have the other way around. We have an overreacting immune system. And then these amino acids are coming into the body, and the body recognizes it, and then the body will calm down until the balance is reached again. And the third thing is so special because with this formula, our cells can learn. They will be educated so that they came back to their original wisdom, and the intelligence is coming back into the cells. And this is so different when we see it, when we compare it with normal supplements, because here the intelligence of the cell is first necessary so that the supplement then can take their way. So we have a lot of work, of scientific work, and here we have a little study just for you to know. We all know that we have natural killer cells. The natural killer cells really protect us. It's a frontier, the first defense, and they protect us against viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites, and even against cancer cells. And they made a study, and they wanted to see how the natural killer cells will react. And in this study, there were around 200 different things were tested, and only this 10 things here had an effect of the immune system. Maybe you all know aloe vera. Aloe vera is really great plant. If you take aloe vera, you will enhance the activity of the natural killer cells up to 15%. That's quite something. But now you will see what the trifactor formula is able to do. It's a total different level because of these trifactor formula. The natural killer cells will work more concentrated, will be activated up to 283%. And then the scientists of the company had a great idea. They said, okay, now we take this formula And we put also some ingredients, mushrooms, also zinc, aloe vera. And because of this combination, they created the product Trifactor Plus formula. And this is able to bring more activity up to 437% to our natural killer cells. And this is really unique. It's a quantum leap really for the immunity. And when we now look at another study, just a thought thing, we all have in our mucose the B cells, and the B cells are producing antibodies, IgA antibodies, and these antibodies are able to protect us. If they made a study, and all the people who participate in the study, all of them had 73% more antibodies in the mucose. It's everywhere, in our eyes, nose, mouth, in here in the breathing thing, and also in the intestines. And when we take this, then it's so important to know 95% of the germs are coming through the mucose in our body. And therefore, if we have more protection in the mucosa because of these transfer factors, so we protect our blood and protect our inner organs. I think this is very necessary just to know that we are not speaking about a supplement. We are speaking really about intelligence for our cells. Now we have a nice example that you see here with this young lady called Mara. She shows you the difference, and please look at her hand, then you see the nice difference.
Today, it is very important that we understand that we talk about immune intelligence. So I will make a little example so you can see what I mean. So let's assume that my hands are mimicking the function of a normal cell that is working day and night. And now maybe we do have some stress, or we don't sleep enough, or we don't have the time to cook ourselves healthy and fresh meals, or we have to deal with the loss of a loved person. So what happens is that the cell starts to degenerate. It still works, but it's degenerated. Now, what happens when we take vitamins, minerals, or fatty acids, these things? The cell will be fortified. It will work stronger, but it is still degenerated. It's working, but it's not doing the right job. Now, what happens when we take these amino acids, the intelligent molecules that have been proven to pass on immune intelligence to our cells? When we give this into our cell step by step, not overnight, but step by step, it can return to its initial function and can connect to its own wisdom and its correct function. And only this amino acid can do this. Vitamins and minerals are not able to do this. So this is the blessing, and this is the value that we are receiving from Mother Nature. Thank you. Today,
so you saw what's different, and I think this example is so great with the clapping hands, so that you can really see. Now I just want to give you a short overview about some products. They are really special, and I really love them because I use them more than 30 years already, 13 years already. This is an example for families, for children, and even for adults. We have here a great liquid. It's called Rio Vida. It's really something that we get a lot of vitality. The body is a little bit detoxing, and there are superfruits in it, like acai and blueberries. And the taste is very, very well. And you can just take a little shot in the morning, and it's even for children, and they really are protected a little bit more to everything what's coming from the outside. And then we have here the dark blue box. This is the product what I talked about, with the capacity to bring more activity through the natural killer cells 437%. So the combination is so great because the Chinese mushrooms and the intelligence is working so great that when we have a really weak immune system, then because maybe of infections, or you have a lack of sleep, or you have some problems, maybe chronic things to deal with, then the immune system is really giving support to the immune system. And the other end, the other box here, the light blue one, it's so great because here we have the possibility to open the capsules. It's even for babies. And I had so many experiences with babies who had problems and children who had problems with skin. We just can open the capsules and put them everywhere, and then the immune cells really calm down from the overreaction. So even if allergies or something like this, so it's so great that we here have something that our immune system will be trained and educated. And this is the difference. In this light blue one, there are only these pure amino acids, what really can use everyone. So the second thing we want to have a look at, it's something that a lot of people really have problems with, because we are such in a stressful world. And the product Reflection, you see it here in the corner, Reflection really help to improve sleep. It's lowering the cortisol level, and therefore we can better fall into sleep and can really manage our daily stress. We can say relax, rest, and reflect. That means really to get an inner peace in a way and calm down, and the overwhelmness what sometimes is taking place in our living time, so that we can really do something with this to manage everything better in a way. It's the feeling is when you need a break, then Reflection could be for you really great. And the next thing you see here is a Recall. And Recall is for something that you need more concentration, that you be more focused on some things in your life. And even if you have to learn a lot during studies in school or working in your working time, then you can use it, because the ability to be really aware and have in your brain really how do you say, a good capacity to get everything. So here is Recall really very great and special. And when we move over through the next slide, we see here we have the Energy Go Sticks. This is also very great. We have different tastes. And these Energy Go Sticks gives you energy, vitality. You can take it in the pocket and have it everywhere. Just put a little bit of water in it. It holds a blood sugar level. So you had no hunger cravings. And yeah, I really like the taste of it. And you can take it warm or cold. It depends on. And the other one here, the Renuvo, is really so special because we call it Feel Like 22. There are a lot of ingredients of, for sure, always this trifactor formula so that your cells will be educated. But the adaptogenic formula is really supporting to recovering and to detoxing. And the most important thing about the Renuvo is that it's clinical proven that you can reduce your stress level up to 64%. And therefore we all say it's our anti-stress product. So just to see that you really can support your body on different levels. It depends on you, how you are in your healthy states. Now we move over to collagen. Maybe you know that collagen is one of the most important peptides proteins, sorry, we need and we have in our body. And collagen is something really, it's designed to combat the aging process in the entire body. Your joints, healthy joints, the skin, the hair, and also the muscles. It's really amazing what this product is able to do. And for sure, there are antioxidants in it, so that you have for sure the trifactor formula, so that the cells learn, and 5 types of different collagens. That is very special. And because of this, there is more power in the collagen. And the taste is really great because it's strawberry and mango. And you can just put it into water and drink it, or you can put it in your thing, what you want to eat. So it's really great that we have this here for taking care from the inside through the outside for our beauty. Yeah, now just have a short look at this one. We all know that the animals can give us a lot of things. They support us when we are not so in a good mood, and they are always there. And for sure, you can support your animals with these tiny little molecules. They love it. I know so many examples, because they are just in the now, and they feel that that's really something very special. So I'm so happy that I also can say that the transverseutical science, it's a science around the transfer factors. They are really scientifically proven. You see here the books, there's a physician desk reference. There you can see that it's a book that the doctors are working with, and all things are really proven. They are in the book, and the transfer factors are since 2003 always there. And the company of 4Life Research is getting a lot of rewards always because of this extraction, for the pure amino acids, the so-called transfer factors on one point. And also they are producing new products, and always we're looking what's the market is needed, what you need, and therefore it's so great. And I'm so happy that I'm with them over the years. And yeah, that's very special for me. Now I'm at the end of the presentation, and for me it's really a pleasure to share with you just here the overview. You can always go deeper into the product. There are some more products, just that you know how specific they are because of the transfer factors, so that the cells don't get only the nutrition, they get also the intelligence back. So therefore, this program, the Power Immune Nutritional Concept, combines these things together. And therefore, we are totally happy, because this company is always looking for what's really needed. And now there's a new clinical study where the transfer factor, they said that the transfer factor give a reaction in the immune system in 2 hours. So that is really great. For this, I leave you now. I hope you will see really the beauty of these transfer factors and this program. And I say bye-bye.